What's good, family? It's your man Crisscross, and today I'm going to be reacting to Mouse Utopia. My man in the comments recommended me this, so I said, why not take a look at it? Let's get straight into it.
In 1968, an expert on animal behavior and population control called John B. Calhoun built what was essentially a utopia for mice that was purpose-built to satisfy their every need. Despite going out of his way to ensure the inhabitants of his perfect mouse society never wanted for anything, within 2 years, virtually the entire population was dead. So, what happened? Dubbed Universe 25, Calhoun's Mouse Utopia was built with the needs of its mouse inhabitants firmly in mind and was designed to specifically cater to their every whim. Containing plentiful food, water, bedding, and at least initially space, the enclosure was described as follows. A tank, 101 inches square, enclosed by walls 54 inches high. The first 37 inches of wall was structured so that the mice could climb up, but they were prevented from escaping by 17 inches of bare wall above. Each wall had 16 vertical mesh tunnels, called them stairwells, soldered to it. 4 horizontal corridors opened off each stairwell, leading to 4 nesting boxes. This means 256 boxes in total, each capable of holding 15 mice. Well versed in rodent populations from dozens of previous experiments, something that's kind of apparent when you realize that the enclosure was called Universe 25, Calhoun anticipated that his mouse paradise could reliably and, more importantly, comfortably house 3,840 mice.
Thank God he didn't follow through with that shit.
Proverbial Adam and Eve of his mouse Garden of Eden. Calhoun eventually settled on 4 breeding pairs of mice specifically bred for the experiment and handpicked from the most healthy specimens from the National Institute of Health's own breeding colony.
That's gotta be sad, man. Imagine being one of those mice, and your whole life is already predetermined, man. That is scary. That is crazy. Just imagine as a human going through some shit like that. Everything is perfect. You got all you need, but you can't escape. It's evil.
Now, before we get into discussing what happened next, we should give some background information about how this experiment came to be and what it was hoping to accomplish. Prior to creating Universe 25, Calhoun had performed a number of similar experiments with rodents that started all the way back in the 1940s. All of these ended in failure when the population either stalled or turned on itself. For example, in one experiment, Calhoun created an enclosure that could easily have housed 5,000 rats, but the eventual population never rose above 200 despite unlimited food, unlimited water, and a complete absence of any predators or any threats. Notice that, again, despite ample space, his rodents would often crowd together, which resulted in a breakdown of social structure amongst the population. This unusual phenomenon led Calhoun to coin the phrase behavioral sink to describe what he felt was the inevitable collapse of any overpopulated society. Calhoun's experiments eventually caught the eye of the National Institute of Mental Health, or NIMH, who were intrigued about the observed effects of overpopulation in rodents, specifically if any of the observed phenomenon could be applied to humans. To this end, the NIMH gave Calhoun access to a small piece of land that they owned in Maryland and the funding that was needed to construct Universe 25. The stated goal of the experiment was simply to see whether a perfect society would flourish. Initially, the experiment, it proved
unlimited food, unlimited water. You're set for life, right? That's all you need.
No challenges, no using your brain. You don't need that, man. You got food and water, man. Now imagine if it was humans, though. Can you imagine that, man? Like, shit. I don't know, like Fight Club. That would be pretty. I would look forward to that. But then again, we're way ahead of these guys, mice. We're way ahead of them in terms of like psychological and just brain power altogether. Through a mouse's perspective, man, you can't even talk. I don't know how they communicate, but you're just trapped in like a fucking square, bro. I'd end it too, man.
Proved successful, and the mice lived in relative harmony, and within a year the population of 8 super healthy mice had swelled to a respectable 620 members. Great care was taken to ensure the mice were taken care of. Food and water, it was unlimited, which allowed the mice to eat or drink whenever they pleased, and there was always space and clean bedding available so females could rear young in peace and safety. Despite this, Calhoun noticed that after day 35 of the experiment, things started to go wrong. First of all, there was a noticeable drop in population growth. While initially the population of the mouse heaven had doubled every 55 days, after day 315 it doubled, according to Calhoun's notes, approximately every 145 days. This made little sense, as there was still ample space to house another 3,000 mice. In addition to a drop in population growth, Calhoun also noticed an abrupt change in behavior in both males and females. Social bonds broke down, and male mice, without a reason to defend their territory or food source, since both were plentiful, became dejected, forming cliques that randomly attacked one another for seemingly no reason. Females similarly began abandoning young or even attacked them, and slowly but surely both males and females simply stopped breeding. In the lead up to this, certain of the male mice began continually mating with whatever mouse happened to be around, be it male or female. Many of the mice also began to simply kill and eat one another despite the abundance of other food sources. Mothers also abandoned their babies. Mice would crowd together in groups of 50 or more in pens designed to hold 15 individuals, while pens with plentiful bedding sat completely empty just inches away. Most intriguing of all were a small group of males and females who withdrew themselves from mouse society altogether to live in the upper levels of the enclosure that Calhoun described as the beautiful ones. These mice did nothing but sleep, eat, and groom themselves, and this gave them noticeably smoother-looking coats, which, along with their isolation meaning no scars from attacks, led to their nickname. They seemingly lost interest in all meaningful social bonds and refused to interact or mate. The last birth in Universe 25 took place on day 600, and from that moment on, the population it slowly dwindled. Even when the population rescinded to levels where the mice had previously flourished, they refused to breed or go back to their old way of interacting. A few months later, all of the mice were dead. Calhoun noted that although the population had survived for many months afterwards, it had effectively died on the 315th day, the day the social bonds broke down, stating, "Their spirit has died the first death. They are no longer capable of executing the more complex behaviors compatible with species survival. The species in such settings die." Calhoun saw his experiments as a warning bell for humanity, with his belief being that overpopulation would inevitably lead to social collapse and thus the extinction of the human race. Others have taken a less nihilistic view of his work and believe that his results are comparable to what would happen in a human society, as, after all, we are slightly more complex and self-aware creatures than mice. That said, what's often lost in Calhoun's work is what came after, in which he continued to research and tweak environmental variables to try and find ways to keep the mice from going down the extinction path, even as the population density grew. And, in fact, he had some success at this. For instance, in one case, via simply encouraging creativity in certain mice by various means. Giving them a sort of purpose here, it actually worked, with the creative mice continuing to thrive well beyond what would have otherwise been expected from the previous experiments. In the end, whatever one's opinion of whether Calhoun's work is actually relevant to humans, it's still kind of fascinating that a near-rodent utopia resulted in the mouse equivalent of the purge.
It's crazy, man. Especially for mouse, like, I don't know how they communicate. I don't know if they communicate at all. But, of course they do. Or do they? It's like, when you put a species like that in like a box, there's only so much for them to do. Especially when they're being controlled by a human, where they literally choose whether they get to leave or not. It's just, man, I don't even know. You put them in a box with means of no escape. There's not much exploring. There's no exploring at all they can do. So life is just, that's all you know in life. You're in a box full of other mice where you deal with different emotions, different reactions to certain stuff. Then that can quickly turn against you, man, in terms of like defending your territory in that small ass box. You just get tired of just waking up every day, eating food, drinking water, going back to sleep. Then I don't know. That's crazy. I guess equivalent to that would be you waking up every day not chasing your dreams. You see, unlike those mice, we have a choice. We have a choice to chase our dreams. But some of us, I don't want to point fingers, but some of us aren't doing that. Some of us aren't taking the blessing we have just being here on this earth. The blessing of having so many resources around us that we don't take advantage of it. Make sense of that. Aren't you just tired of waking up every day? Wake up, play video games, go to sleep. Wake up, go to school, play video games, go to sleep. It's a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. And you know the unconscious mind, the unconscious part of your brain knows that you have a goal that you should be chasing, but you're not chasing it because, it's too much work. I'm not ready. I'll do it later. Come on, man. Let's lock in here, man. Let's lock in. But anyways, man, that was the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it with me. Because that was a good That was an experiment that was worth, diving into. If you guys have any other experiments or any other topics you want me to, watch or look at, feel free to comment down below. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button. It'll help me a lot. It'll let me know if you guys like the video or not. With that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.